And you recently did a piece on linebacker Nick Martin. You look at
Yeah.
a potential now. You do have to think about the future with Alex Anzalone and his elevated age. Look, he's still very productive. I still think that he's got a year or two of productivity left with the Lions, but you could potentially look to the future in regards to the linebacker spot, especially with Derek Barnes, Malcolm Rodriguez coming off of injury. You can definitely count on Jack Campbell, who has steadily improved his game in his second year. I think big things are expected out of Jack Campbell his third year. But there are some players, I think, depth wise, and you see a class overall in regards to the edge rusher spot that the Lions may even be willing to bypass an edge rusher in the early parts of the draft in order to secure maybe a talented player later on. Where do you think if they look at day 2, day 3 picks, a late round pick on defense that could help the Detroit Lions?
Yeah, so there's a couple day 3 guys that are slated to go between the 4th and the 7th that I really like. The first one is Kansas cornerback Mello Dotson. He's had a ton of production with the ball in the air. He's a guy who was always a threat to take the ball away, and that's a skill that the Lions covet. And I know they made a bunch of moves to help stock up on depth at the cornerback position specifically. But if you're looking for a young guy to take a chance on, Dotson is somebody who in the late rounds makes a lot of sense. I think David Walker, the edge rusher out of Central Arkansas, is somebody worth keeping an eye on. Very productive at the FCS level, but will that translate to the NFL? Who knows? I know Jalix Hunt was a guy that was kind of in a similar predicament as an FCS guy, was drafted by the Philadelphia Eagles, helped them win a Super Bowl. So I do think that Walker is somebody worth keeping an eye on as well. And then Nick Martin is just somebody who I am fascinated by the fit that he can have in Detroit. You mentioned him. I wrote a piece on him. Maybe he's a will linebacker. Maybe he's a Mike at the NFL level. Might not be that guy to go to right away. But, I mean, a lot of his just trajectory, just he's so productive despite being a smaller linebacker. He had 140 combined tackles last year. He was on pace to do that and maybe more in 2024 before a knee injury ended his season after 5 games. So I think that Nick Martin, obviously David Walker, I mentioned him earlier, but Nick Martin is a guy worth keeping an eye on for the Lions just because he fits that mold of somebody who you can take a chance on. He has the production, and a lot of people are going to look at his size, speed, whatever, and just say no based on different tests or physical measurables. But the Lions do have a habit of digging deeper and finding guys who are just straight up productive football players who have great technique and do things the right way. I think Nick Martin's a candidate to be that guy for the Lions in 2025.